Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Wool Revolution podcast. My name is Helena and this is where I sit and talk about my knitting, about yarn, wool, anything related to that. Today I am wearing a new finished object which I'm very excited about. I'm gonna talk a little bit about it. I also have two other finished projects actually, so I've been finishing quite a few things. This isn't completely finished but good enough, I'd say. And I'm also working on a few projects, and I think I will talk about them in order of priority. Wouldn't that be fun? But let's start by talking about this cardigan because it's still a little bit damp, and yeah, I think I'm gonna take it off after I've talked about it. But yeah, it's the marum knitted bomber. I talked about it in my last video quite a lot, so I won't go into detail about it, but it's a fantastic pattern. I absolutely love this pattern. At first I wasn't sure. I mean, when I saw it the first time I really liked it. I convinced my mom to knit it, but for myself I didn't have a suitable yarn for it, so I didn't knit it for quite a while. And then eventually I decided to use this yarn, which is a fingering weight yarn, which is not what the pattern calls for. This is what I have left. I had to buy another skein, so I've used almost 400 grams of this yarn, maybe 350 grams or something. And it has taken a long time because it's fingering weight yarn and 3mm needles. So yeah, I have been very eager to finish this cardigan. Also because I really loved it. When I tried it on, it had a perfect fit, so maybe I will actually record myself once I have sewn on the buttons, because I haven't done that yet, but when I have done that I can show you the whole piece. So I think last time all I had left was like a little bit of the sleeve and the cuff, and now it's finished. I did a tubular bind off. I'm not sure what the pattern called for, but that's what I did. And now that it's blocked, the fit is still really good. It's quite oversized. It definitely feels like a jacket, even though the yarn is so thin. It definitely feels like a jacket, and I suppose this broken rib stitch really makes it feel a bit thicker than it would if it was just simple stockinette. And it feels very warm. Oh, and I forgot to tell you the name of the yarn. It's dansk pelsuld 8/2, I think is what it's called. And I thought this was 100% Danish wool, but I was wrong. I think actually it has a little bit of merino content in it, which explains why it's so soft, I would say. Like it definitely feels like wool, and it has this halo which is so pretty, and definitely something that, you know, the wool content gives, but at the same time it's quite soft and you know, smooth, I'd say. Not as dry as 100% pure wool can feel like. So a lovely yarn, and I would love to knit something else with this yarn, but maybe not the fingering weight version. I know they have thicker yarn with a similar mix of wool, so maybe I would try one of those yarns instead before I dive into another fingering weight project. I'm taking it off because it's like warm but also wet at the same time, which isn't a nice feeling. Alright, so I have 2 more finished objects, and they are both baby knits or like child knits. So one of them is actually a gift, so I will show it now before I give it away. And it's this hat, which is just so adorable, I think. The pattern is called vardagsmössan Rut. It's a Swedish pattern. Not sure if it's available in English. And I knit this in ulrika natur, which is a DK weight yarn. And it has this nice little texture and a simple 1x1 rib. And the pom-pom is actually not in the pattern, but I really wanted to try to make a pom-pom. I haven't done one since, I guess, kindergarten or like preschool. So that was quite fun. I had a little bit of an accident with a pair of scissors, but apart from that, I think I was successful. This is my second version of the pom-pom because the first one didn't turn out that great, but this one is pretty neat, I think, and a great way to use up the yarn leftovers. So I think I used basically all of the yarn. I used 1 skein. I think I used 1 skein, and yeah, I didn't have anything left basically. So a really good 1 skein project, I'd say. And I think this is the size, not the smallest size, because I think that's like a baby size, and this is intended for a 1-year-old, so I knit like the second smallest size. Yeah, not much to say about it. I hope the recipient will be will be happy, or at least the parents, I guess. And the second project I have finished, it's also intended for a child. Not sure which child, because I just cast this on because I was really eager to knit a hönsestrik project. And here it is. Oh my gosh. I love this sweater, and this was so much fun to knit. Okay, let's have a closer look at all of the motifs. So if you don't know, hönsestrik is a knitting concept, I guess you can call it, where you basically knit from all kinds of different charts. It's color work. You can knit anything, a sweater, a skirt, a blanket, whatever. But you always sort of choose these different motifs, and it's a very playful way of knitting. And yeah, as some of you may know, I love colorwork knitting, so I definitely wanted to knit something in hönsestrik, but I didn't want to commit to something for myself, and also this is a very, what should I call it, a bold statement piece if I were to wear it, and I don't know if I'm ready for that, so it's just a lot easier to knit for a baby or a child, and a faster project, mind you. So yeah, I just cast on for a size, I think this is like a 2-year-old size, something like that, and I cast on, and I enjoyed the process so much. Let's have a closer look at the motifs. So we have a little fox and the penguins. I love the penguins. It's a animal theme, as you can tell. And yeah, this is some kind of cat, a wild cat, something like that. And yeah, this one didn't turn out great. The contrast wasn't great up here, but And I don't even know what to call this in English, so you can decide for yourself what kind of animal that is. And on one of the sleeves you have this duck. It looks more like one of those plastic ducks, I guess, that you have in the bathing tub. And an owl, I guess. And on the other sleeve we have a bird and a goat. I can't really see it unless yeah, it's hard to see the whole one goat there and on the other side. So yeah, a bunch of animals and then some in-between motifs. And I didn't really plan anything. Well, I did plan the colors. I picked some colors that let me see, what was the criteria? First of all, colors that maybe I wouldn't wear myself. So for example, this purple, the dark purple, and this very, very green. I wouldn't maybe knit something for myself in those colors. They are quite difficult, I'd say. They are very bright and yeah, maybe not necessarily my style. So that was one criteria, and the other criteria was yeah, that they would somehow go together. So for example, different shades of green, different shades of like pink, purple, some beige. It's always good, I think, to have at least one color that's more neutral. And this yellow was a great like pop of color. It's very different from the other colors. So yeah, I wanted to have some kind of balance in the sweater, even though I knew it would look quite crazy, I guess. But I'm so happy, and I mean, for a child, I mean, isn't this the most fun garment you could wear? Like, yeah, it's just so much fun. Let's see, the construction, it's a very basic sweater. You start from the bottom and you do this corrugated rib. And then you knit up to here, and you put these stitches aside and you knit the sleeves. And I decided to do like different sleeves, as you could see, but they have the same cuff. Also a corrugated rib, but in the same colors. And then you join together here and finish the rest and do decreases sort of in between the motifs. And I guess the fit isn't, you know, if I were to wear something like this in a larger size, of course, I probably wouldn't enjoy the fit so much. But for a child, I mean, it's fine. You don't have to care that much about the fit, I think. I did some short rows here in the neck, just to get the back piece a bit higher. Yeah, and I have just used different scrap yarns. The beige is rauma finull. That's the only one I know what it is, I think. And all of the rest are just random scrap yarns that I had in my stash. And I used 3mm needles. Yeah, I'd say if I had to choose which motif I enjoy the most, I would say the penguins. I really enjoy the penguins. They are cute, holding hands like this. And in terms of colors, I really like this color combination. I think is quite nice. Green and purple. I also like the pink and purple together here as well. Yeah, so that's everything I have finished. I'm feeling really inspired at the moment. I have ordered some yarn for a couple of new projects, and yeah, I just want to finish as many of my old projects as possible, just to start something fresh. I mean, some of these like sweater projects I have worked on for almost a year, which is quite a long time, so I'm definitely ready to bind them off and start something new. So let's talk about the one project that I have a deadline for. I think I mentioned, or I showed this in my last video, did I? I think so. It's my riddari for my partner. It's a Christmas gift, so I need to be finished before Christmas, but I think that will be quite possible. I have still 2 months to go almost, so I'm confident that I will finish in time, which is a good feeling. And I think also this is the only Christmas gift that I'm going to knit this year. Yeah, I think one big sweater is enough this year. So this is how far I have gotten. This is the body I have finished, the main part of the body. So you cast on down here, and I have modified this first section. In the pattern you have a little bit of a color work motif down here, and you have a rolled hem as well, but I decided to just go for a 2x2 rib. Let's see if we can catch the color. It's a lovely color, like a mix between blue and green. Very beautiful. And then you keep knitting, just simple stockinette. And this is where I will join the sleeves, which I have also started. And I'm knitting them 2 at a time. So I have, yeah, made a little bit of progress. And here as well, I have just knitted a 2x2 rib, whereas in the pattern you're supposed to do some color work and also a rolled hem for the sleeves, I think. Which I think is quite pretty, but my partner prefers a little bit of a simpler, I guess, look, and I think that's really nice as well, so I don't mind doing that kind of modification. And yeah, I just put a bunch of stitch markers here just to keep track of how many increases I will make. Yeah. And apart from the cuffs, I haven't really modified anything yet. I am knitting a size extra large. I think the pattern only has like 5 or 6 sizes, and they are quite small. So that's something to keep in mind. It's an older pattern, so maybe that's why they don't really, it doesn't really come in bigger sizes. But it's probably not that difficult to modify if you would want to knit a larger size. When I looked through the Ravelry pages, I saw that some people had done exactly that, just in order to knit a larger size. And here's a bit of a close-up on the yarn. You can see the color. And let me show you which colors I plan to use for the color work. So as for the color work motif, in case you don't know, I think probably a lot of you know about riddari and have seen it before. It's a very classic pattern, I'd say, of this like Icelandic sweater. And you use, apart from the main color, you use 3 other colors. And I think I have decided on which colors to use. So I will go quite neutral and use these 3 colors. So this is almost a black, but not really, but pretty much a very beautiful heathered black. And then 2 shades of beige together with this main color. I think this will look quite neutral but still really beautiful, and I really want this main color to shine because it's definitely a beautiful color and it deserves the attention. So I think it will be good to have these neutral colors to combine it with. Yeah, hopefully in the next video I will have started the colorwork section so I can show you what it looks like. I'm very excited myself to see how the colors will go together, because you can't really, even if you have an idea and you think that they will work together, maybe you look at the colors and they look beautiful together, but in my experience it can vary a lot when you start to knit it up. Sometimes they go together exactly the way you wanted it or the way you thought it would, and sometimes not so much. So yeah, we'll see. So that's the only project that I really have to prioritize. And the other projects that I'm working on is just, you know, whatever I feel like getting done first. And I think I will show you a pair of mittens actually. I basically started them this morning, but I've had the idea in my mind for a while. So for these pair of mittens, I'm inspired by 2 patterns. I'm not following either of the patterns, but I still want to mention them because that's where I have gotten my inspiration from. And I will put the patterns here next to me, and let's see if I can have them in front of me so that I can talk about them. So one of the patterns is called Curly Cuff Mittens. It's by a designer that goes by the name Rillerud. I think it's a Norwegian designer. And these are felted mittens, so they have this bouclé cuff, and then the actual mitten is felted, I think, which is really nice for mittens because then you get a thicker fabric, which is good when it's cold and windy. And the other pattern is called Vanten Irene. It's a Swedish design, and it is similar in the sense that it has a bouclé cuff. However, I think this cuff is folded. Well, maybe both of them are actually, yeah, okay, both of them are folded in the cuff. But then this Irene mitten is not felted, so just simple stockinette and nothing else. And I think this is just a beautiful, both of them are beautiful, and it's a really nice take on a very classic type of mitten, I would say. But I think the classic style of this mitten is like a leather mitten, and then you still have this woolly cuff. It's very, very nice. And I have this yarn that I actually bought at a thrift store, and it cost me 5 Swedish kronor, which is $50, something like that. So a real catch. But I have no idea what kind of yarn it is. I mean, it is some kind of bouclé, but other than that I have no idea. So I have tried to figure out how many stitches to cast on with this yarn, because I want this for the cuff. And I landed on 36 stitches on 3mm needles. And I think that will be great. So I'm working on this cuff right now. I'm doing the cuffs first, and then I will knit with another yarn. So this was the first cuff I did. So yeah, this is the cast on, and then I have just worked my way up, and now I have switched to the main color, which is a beige. And I think because the cuff, I just knitted it in stockinette, and I think I want to fold it up as such so that the purl side will be visible because I think it looks a bit more fuzzy and curly, I guess. And I'm knitting this rib here because that's a nice little trick I learned when I knit my ulrika mittens last year, that if you want to have like a folded cuff, sometimes the cuff can get a bit too wide. So right after you knit the cuff, you can knit a little bit of, just a few centimeters of ribbing to get that snug fit around the wrist. Just to keep the warmth. So that's a nice little trick, and I'm gonna do that. And the yarn that I'm using for the main part of the mitten is a combination of these two. So I have this beautiful beige, heathered beige from rauma finull, and a silk mohair from Sandnes, tynn silk mohair. And these are both yarns from my stash, and I only have these two skeins, which worries me a little bit. I don't think it's enough for a pair of mittens. What do you think? And I just hate the idea of using yarn from stash and then having to buy more yarn just to be able to finish the project. So we'll see. Right now this is just like an experiment, I guess, because I really want to use this fun yarn and I like the style of this kind of mitten, so we'll see how far I get with these, and if I just give up on it altogether when I realize that I don't have enough yarn. We'll see. At first I had this yarn as well that I thought maybe I would pair these two together, or maybe all three of them. But I don't know, would that make the yarn last longer? I always get confused about that. Like if you have a thicker, if you make it thicker by using 3 strands instead of 2, would that make it more, yeah, wouldn't it make it last longer? I don't know. But I think I will try these two at first and see how far I get. Okay, so I have 2 more projects that I would like to talk about. One of them I have a lot to say about, actually. This is not a super prioritized project because it's a thick sweater and yeah, definitely a winter sweater, and in my experience the very cold temperatures, at least here in Sweden, they don't come around until maybe January. Usually November, December is quite yeah, relatively warm, I guess. So no stress if I don't finish it until January. And this is what I have, and you probably won't understand anything. This is the eurus sweater, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, by hjeholts. I love her patterns. I think it's mother and daughter business, hjeholts from Denmark, and I think they work together as well with the patterns, and they have beautiful patterns. And this sweater was not an exception. I will put a picture here just to show you what it looks like when it's finished. It's an all-over cable design, and it has a really interesting construction in that it goes from side by side. You knit it like horizontally instead of vertically, which is what you normally do when you knit top down or bottom up. So that's really cool, and I think maybe that's something that scares a lot of people when they look at the pattern, but to be honest, once you sort of get your head around each step of the construction, it's not that difficult. It's quite intuitive, sort of how you are binding off and casting on stitches and so on. So don't be afraid for that reason. When I looked through the Ravelry project pages, I noticed a lot of people complained a little bit about the pattern. I will get back to sort of my view on that, but first I want to show you what I've done so far. So you start casting on for the sleeve, one of the sleeves, and then you knit in the round, and then you need to cast on a lot of stitches to knit the first section of the body, and this is hopefully going to stretch out quite a bit when I block it. In her photos it looks like she has blocked it quite aggressively, or like at least stretched it out a bit, so yeah, you get a bit of length here. And then of course you're gonna add the ribbing afterwards, so yeah, it will be a bit longer. And then you need to do some shaping in order to make room for the neckline. So you knit the front and the back piece separately around here, and then you continue on the other side and finish with the second sleeve. So quite a fun project. It's a lot of cabling. I actually haven't knit that many cable projects, and I don't think I've knit any project that has this many cables at the same time. But it's actually going quite well, and the cable motifs are really nice. I think this is called like honeycomb, like a honeycomb stitch, I guess. And yeah, different kinds of cables. So the actual pattern, she provides both written instructions and charts, and I almost exclusively knit from the charts. And once the sort of cables are established, I find it quite intuitive to just keep on knitting. I guess reading your knitting and continuing with the charts sort of from memory, I suppose, or from, yeah, looking at it. So I can't really speak of the written instructions, and I think that the people that have struggled with the pattern, that they have struggled with the written instructions, and that there may be some mistakes in the written instructions. I wouldn't know, because I've only used maybe like the first row of a new section. I have looked at the written instruction, but apart from that I've only looked at the charts. And I think that she also, I looked actually at a video when she was a guest at the what's it called, the I will put the name here, I can't remember now, but she was a guest there, and they talked a lot about her designs and sort of the differences between like American designs and Scandinavian designs. And then she talked a lot about this sort of intuitive knitting, and that historically that has been a big part of the Scandinavian designs, that you don't write out every little detail. For example, if you are if it says in the pattern that you are supposed to increase X amount of stitches, it might just say increase 5 stitches, whereas in a more elaborative pattern it would say exactly what kind of increase you're supposed to do, etc. So yeah, and that's just something to keep in mind if you were to knit this pattern, or maybe another pattern from hjeholts. I mean, I still think that the pattern is like 15 pages or something, so it's definitely very thorough, I think. But I mean, that can be so different for different people, how much sort of hand holding you need and how many details you need in the instruction. But I actually enjoy people that sort of asks of you to be more intuitive. I think that's a good learning process as well. But I know other people want to have more hand holding, and that's completely fine. So yeah, to sort of sum it up, I haven't had any problems with the pattern, except for one problem, and that is actually quite a big problem. And I'm intending to write to her. I don't know if they offer like pattern support, but I will try to contact her and ask, you know, if if I'm just reading the pattern wrong or if it's actually a mistake in the pattern. But the problem that I have found, and I think also in the Ravelry project pages, you can see that other people have found the same problem, and it's related to size. So the pattern comes in 3 sizes, which is not a lot, but the sizes are quite big. So the finished chest circumference is supposed to be, for the smallest size, 120 centimeters, and then 130 and 140 centimeters, so 3 sizes. However, when I calculate sort of how many centimeters each section will be, or like what the pattern tells you to knit, for the smallest size I don't get 120 centimeters circumference, I get a lot more. So I don't know if I have yeah, like I said, if I calculate it in a way that's not correct, I'm not sure. Yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm modifying a little bit, because the pattern of course is knitted from one side to the other. You can adjust the width by just not knitting as far as the pattern tells you to knit. So that's sort of what I'm gonna modify. I'm gonna yeah, I don't want to rip back the section that I have already knit, so I will modify here around the neckline, so probably make this section a bit smaller, just to get the total width a bit smaller, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's my plan, and in the meantime I'm gonna send them an email and see if I have misunderstood something. Because I don't mind it being oversized. In fact, I want it to be oversized, and it's supposed to be oversized, but I don't want it to be gigantic, because then I will probably only be able to wear it at home, and yeah, that's not what I want for this sweater. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about the pattern, but I will get back to it probably in a future video. Let's talk a little bit about the yarn. Have I shown you a close-up yet? It's a beautiful red color. Let's see if I have... Here we have a ball. It's like a red color with a little bit of yellow, and it's quite, like, I wouldn't say washed out, but it's not a very bright color, which I like, and really like heathered, which is also nice. And the yarn is called lamauld, so it's 50% llama and 50% virgin wool. And it's from the brand Camarose. And this yarn is new to me. It's a DK weight yarn, and the needle size is quite big, so like 6mm needles, and I'm using my Knit Pro Cubics. So it's quite a fast project, because it has the large needles, but at the same time, of course, a slow project because of all the cabling. So I'm not stressing about it at all. It will have to take the time that it takes, and I think it will look beautiful in the end. One thing I'll say about the construction, it's quite hard to try it on as I go. I mean, I could try it on for you now, like this. But it doesn't really say much. One thing that worries me a little bit is that it won't be long enough. Like I said, I'm gonna put the ribbing in the bottom in the end. So I think that will be my solution if it turns out too short when I have blocked it. I will just need to knit the ribbing a lot longer. And I'm also thinking of doing a split hem on the side. I think that will look good, and also with a longer ribbing. I think that will look good as well. Yeah, okay, so let's move on and talk about my final project, which is not really a project yet, it's just a yarn. But I have started to wound up some yarn. This is it. This is Kampes tvåtrådig, which is wool from New Zealand that has been spun in Sweden. And I have 4 skeins, so let's see. This is the hank, and this is, oops, when I wound them up. It's a lovely color, as you can see, this burgundy with some like black heathering. I've had this yarn in my stash for a long time, several years. I actually had a cabled sweater in this kind of burgundy color that was store-bought, and I bought it maybe 15 years ago, and I really liked it. And I sort of had that sweater in mind when I bought this yarn a few years ago, but I never got around to knit anything with it. I think that like burgundy was really a really hot color at the time, and then it sort of stopped being trendy, I guess. So I just like forgot about it a little bit, and yeah, it was like in the bottom of my stash, this yarn. But now I feel like burgundy is on its way back, and I really want to use up this yarn. I think this is one of the oldest yarn that I have, so at least now I have started to wound it up. I think that's the first step to actually making a sweater of it. And I think also I have decided on a pattern, and that is the sweater number 15 from my favorite things knitwear. The recommended yarn is, I think, holding 2 strands together, 1 fingering weight and 1 lace weight silk mohair. And together they would make kind of a sport weight, so I guess a light fingering and a lace weight. That makes a sport weight. But this yarn in itself is a sport weight. So the meterage is like 150 or 175, I'm not sure, meters per 50 gram. So I think this will actually work quite well. And the pattern recommends using 4.5mm needles to get the gauge. I'm not sure how this yarn will look with 4.5mm needles. Of course, it's an all-over cable design, so maybe it'll be fine. But I might go down in needle size to a 4mm and go up in size instead. We'll see. But I'm very excited, and it'll be fun to use this kind of woolly yarn for a looser gauge. So this is definitely like 100% wool, quite rustic, quite toothy. And I have only used this kind of yarn for like colorwork sweaters that are quite thick in the fabric, and you know, those kind of projects, mittens, that kind of stuff. So it'll be quite fun to see what it will look like in a flowy fabric, like a loose gauge flowy style. So I'm quite excited actually. So hopefully in the next video I have cast this on and at least, you know, decided and committed fully to that project, so that I can finally do something with this yarn. And the color, like I said, it's so beautiful. I think I will stop here. I actually have a bit of a sore throat, so I'm hoping I won't get sick. We'll see, but yeah, I feel quite tired right now from talking so much. But I hope you enjoyed listening to me, watching my projects, and yeah, I will talk to you soon again. Bye!